So let's get started. And for each group of advisors, I'm going to introduce to you the staff person who is joining us, who is leadership within that program. And then they will introduce you to their students and talk a little bit about how they support advising on the Brown campus. So first up, I'd like to introduce Naomi Ninneman, who is the Be Well Assistant Director of Communication and Outreach.
Thanks so much. Hello, everybody. Really excited to get a chance to share about the work that we do in Be Well. Be Well is a department within the Health and Wellness Division in Campus Life. And we offer kind of a wide variety of student-centered services. And I'm going to ask actually if we can pull up our slides. So again, like I mentioned, we are within health and wellness, and we do work that is preventative and responsive, but very much also work that is about empowerment and about helping students find connection and meaning in their time at Brown. So I want to show you how we do that through our peer education programs. And if we can look at our next slide, because we do have many of them, 5 in fact. We'll give you a little detail on 2 of these because we have 2 students who are coordinators within 2 of these programs. We have the Brown University Relaxation Project, which is fondly known as BURP, and this is our student massage club. So they give free neck and shoulder rubs to their fellow students, and they're trained by a licensed massage therapist to do a very specific 5-minute sequence. So that is a way that we help students to de-stress and connect and feel grounded. Then we have 4 things that are more traditionally what you think of with a peer education program. We have our masculinity peer education program, which is around looking at gender roles and reconsidering them and looking at how gender roles can be something that are empowering rather than limiting. Then we have SAPE, which is our sexual assault peer education program. They do sexual violence, interpersonal violence prevention work with groups throughout campus. And then we have our sexual health awareness group that does lots of exciting programming around sexual health topics, and also has a Q&A texting service so that students can get direct responses from their peers with their sexual health questions. And our newest program, and one that has become really kind of core to what we've been doing, is our wellness peer education program. And those students provide a wide variety of programming that is developed in collaboration with other students at Brown to bring wellness practices and the experience of trying different wellness practices to lots of different students all across campus. Our peer education programs are all evidence-based. Some of them are curriculum-based, some are more project and program-specific developed, like our wellness peer education program. And the thing that we see as true for all of our programs is that they are giving students a chance to bring theory into practice using knowledge and skills they might be learning in the classroom. For example, students who maybe are public health or pre-med concentrators will find that a lot of the work that they do with Be Well will be informative for what they're learning in the classroom and for what they are looking to do with their careers. The other thing that our peer education programs do, both for the students who are directly involved and for the students who attend and participate in programs, is they help students make connection, develop a sense of belonging, find friends, have fun, learn a whole lot. And I just want to quickly share the framework that we use for how we work with students. And that, if we could go to the next slide, and just go ahead and click all the way through if you don't mind. We've got more animation here than necessary. This is the empowerment window. And I just want to highlight, as it is highlighted on the slide, that all the work we do with students. So we are very student-centered, student-driven, and that is how we do all of our work. And that is a lot of how students find that empowerment and belonging in the work with our peer ed programs. So I want to turn it over to our two Be Well students who are joining us today so that they can speak about their experiences within the Be Well programs. And first I will have Anna speak, who is one of our SHAG coordinators and is a graduating senior who has been with Be Well since her first year at Brown. And then Bianca is one of our SAPE coordinators and is a current junior at Brown. So Anna, if you don't mind giving a little window into what you have done with SHAG.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anna. I'm a senior, as Naomi said, and I concentrate in environmental studies and ethnic studies. And as Naomi mentioned, I've been a part of SHAG since my first semester of freshman year as a SHAG peer educator. And then my junior year, I became one of the SHAG co-coordinators. So that position is essentially just helping SHAG run our meetings, organize our events and our programs, and help the cohort find community amongst ourselves. Naomi mentioned that one really important aspect of SHAG is the anonymous texting service, where students can ask us questions and we'll respond within 24 hours. And I really feel like that is a very important part of our peer education, is allowing people who might not want to interact with SHAG in person still have an avenue to talk to us and to tap into the resources that Be Well and SHAG has. We also host LNCs, which is short for late night conversations, where we discuss anything from boundary setting to communication, anything in between relating to sexuality and sexual health. And those are really important for helping peers hear from each other and learn from each other, which I think is an essential aspect of SHAG. And I'll turn it over to Bianca.
Hi, I'm Bianca. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a junior studying medical anthropology. I'm also in the 8-year program for liberal medical education. As Naomi said, I am a SAPE coordinator. So as a SAPE coordinator, I work with fellow SAPEs in teaching curriculum, and us as SAPEs host workshops for student groups who request it, and teach preventative methods related to sexual assault. So any student group can request it. So we work with a variety of individuals from sports groups to Model UN. So we work with a lot of campus partners in teaching our curriculum. Something I really have enjoyed about working with SAPE is that I really was involved in the activist sphere before joining Be Well. And I found that this entire community at Be Well is super activist forward and super restorative and very community based. And that's something I really enjoyed, is finding fellow students who are really passionate about the same work and being able to educate and work alongside other campus partners and spreading this knowledge that we really are passionate about.
All right. Well, thank you, Naomi and Anna and Bianca. We're going to keep moving, and we'll get back to you if we have more questions towards the end. But thank you for sharing that. The next person I'd like to introduce to you is Dean Yoli Rome, who is the Associate Dean of the College for Class Year Advising. And Dean Rome oversees the Meiklejohn program, and she will introduce to you as well some of the students who are participating.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I represent the college, and the college really is the academic portion of the undergraduate experience. And one of the things that we are very passionate about at Brown is our open curriculum, which allows students really to take any courses that they want, which is definitely something that they are excited about, but then also a little intimidated about when we actually get through and to course selection. So if what we do is have a very strong advising network. So every incoming student is paired with both an academic advisor and a peer advisor. And the peer advisor program is called the Meiklejohn program. And I have 3 excellent Meiklejohns here with me, and I will introduce them all. One is Smitty. Dani, can you just raise your hand, Smitty? And I also have Zane Pierboy, if you could raise your hand. and also Henry Popolo, if you could raise your hand. And I will have them explain what they do as Meiklejohns and how their role helps students adjust to campus. So let's start with Smitty.
Hi everyone, I'm Smithy. I'm a third year at Brown and I'm a second year Meiklejohn, and I'm currently concentrating in neuroscience. So the Meiklejohn program essentially is mandatory for every first year coming to Brown. And as Meiklejohns, we want to make sure that they have everything they need when they arrive on campus. And in fact, our responsibility starts a little bit before they physically come to Brown. We reach out to them, acquaint them with what Brown has to offer, and then we walk them through orientation and stay in touch throughout the year to make sure that we can meet all of their needs. It's really overwhelming coming in as a first year. Brown has a huge advising network, so our job essentially is to connect everything they need with what Brown has to offer. I can pass it on to Zain if he wants to touch in more detail about that.
Yeah, thanks, Mentee. Hi, everyone. My name's Zain. I'm a sophomore from London, concentrating in neuroscience and public health. And I'm, like Smitty and Henry, are also Meiklejohns. So as Smitty was kind of saying, the program is centered around fostering and helping first-year students create their advising network, but also receive sort of more intimate hands-on advice from us as Meiklejohns. One benefit and one advantage of the program, especially for me, is that I've been able to experience both sides. So obviously receiving advice from my Meiklejohn as a first year inspired me to become a Meiklejohn. And then now both Smitty, Henry, and myself have taken that a step further, working as TAs for the new course that trains future Meiklejohns. This has been a really nice step for me to take and grow the Meiklejohn program, because it allows us to foster a sort of deeper sense of community within advising here at Brown, and really focus on that ultimate goal of wider connections and community through advising. I'll pass it on to Henry to sort of touch on that further.
Definitely. Thank you, Zain and Smitty. You guys done a great job explaining a lot of the details of the Meiklejohn program. So I'm just going to talk about myself very briefly and then go into it. So hello, my name is Henry. I am in the class of 22.5. I concentrate in music and psychology, and this is actually my first year being a Meiklejohn, and it has been an absolute delight. Funny enough, I'm a transfer student as well, so I didn't have the luxury of a Meiklejohn, and so all the questions I had coming into Brown have been able, I've thought about what did I want to know and how can I help people figure that out. Smitty and Zain have done a really great job talking about the Meiklejohn program, so just to throw the very similar information at you in a different way, I like to think of it as helping folks see the stitches on the baseball that's coming at you. We're not going to tell you this is the only way to do things, or this is what I did, so you have to do the exact same thing. That's not exactly how we work here. We're going to say this is, what we see, and it's we're happy to help you talk with you about whatever questions you may have and how we can put you in the best position for success. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you all. So I have a quick question for you. How much of a time commitment is it to be a Meiklejohn advisor? Henry or Zain or Smitty? Smitty, do you want to answer that one?
Sure, I can take this one. So typically it's, I want to say 2 to 3 hours a week. It's not super intense, but work definitely picks up around orientation, midterm season, finals, and then also pre-registration. These tend to be more intense times for students. So we want to make sure that we can be there for them when they need. And that includes meeting with the rest of the Meiklejohn group during orientation, making sure everyone is doing okay when they move in, talking to your academic advisor, finalizing what classes you want to take. And then typically with midterm and final season, it can get really stressful. So just checking in and make sure everything is going well.
Thank you. And so I'll give this one to Zain. How do you balance this with your own workload, your own coursework?
So for me, I think the beauty of the role is that I actually don't see this as what one of my passions is, helping advising. And I think everyone in the Meiklejohn community shares this common sense of willingness to help students. In terms of balancing it with workload, I find that it's quite easy to sort of have these meetings informally in common spaces, libraries, and therefore I can tie it into my work schedule pretty easy. And then the only thing I wanted to add to what Smriti was saying is that another benefit of the program is that there are different levels to it. So obviously, if you wanted to put in more commitment and work towards this, there's further positions available, such as Meiklejohn Leadership, who, as well as advising their group of first years, also help accommodate the needs of other Meiklejohns and ensuring that the advice that they're giving is also up to the high standard that we set.
Thank you. So for Henry, is this in lieu of formal academic advising?
No, the great thing about Brown is that there are multiple, I like to think of them as nets that are intersecting each other. Meiklejohn advising is just one of those things. And in many ways, we actually like to think of it as a web. Sorry for all the analogies. I just love analogies. But basically, the way it works is that, you have a Meiklejohn, but you also have a faculty advisor. That faculty advisor is someone that works very closely with your Meiklejohn. They're a great resource as well. What I personally love about the faculty advisor is that maybe, you come in and you're, exactly, I'm going to be a biology major. Your faculty advisor could be in the English department and can help provide a completely different perspective to college that maybe you weren't necessarily thinking of from the beginning. There's also awesome advising opportunities as well. Even further down the line, say once you get to be a sophomore, there's a MAPS program, but then again, I'm here to talk about Meiklejohns. So not in lieu of formal advising with, say, a staff member or faculty member, but definitely an important part of the web that we have going on here.
Just for everybody at Brown, everyone will learn there's a lot of acronyms. What does MAP stand for, Henry?
MAPS stands for Matched Advising Program for Sophomores, if memory serves. Sometimes the acronyms do get a little jumbled up, but basically it's a very similar program for sophomores. Freshmen and first years, you guys are automatically involved in the Meiklejohn program. For sophomores, you do have to ask to be involved, but they're always happy to have new people.
All right. Well, thank you for representing MAPS as well. I think we'll move on to the next area of focus, and that is Career Lab. I would love to introduce you to Matthew Donato, who is the director of the Center for Careers and Life After Brown.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matt. I'm the director of Career Lab, as El said, and I'm really happy to be here with you today to talk about our peer career advising program. I'm at somewhat of a disadvantage. I didn't bring any peer career advisors with me today, so I apologize for that. But I can talk about the program and the great work that our peer career advisors do. So at Career Lab, we have we will actually have next semester 30 peer career advisors on staff working with students in a variety of capacities. But peer career advisors are often the first point of contact that many students have with our office, particularly during their first or perhaps second year. Peer career advisors do a lot of work to help orient students to our services and our systems and help students get adjusted to thinking about what their career options might be. And then peer career advisors also serve a really important role helping students develop certain professional skills. So the peer career advisor is often the person on our staff who students will go to start writing a resume or maybe update or refine a resume for a job application. They do the same thing with cover letters. And they often give advice to students on how they can best access our alumni network through our Brown Connect platform and actually make real connections with alumni and other mentors who can be helpful as students are exploring a variety of different career options while they're here at Brown. Peer career advisors do lots of other things as well. So they do programming for us. They conduct workshops on different topics, both at Career Lab and around campus. So often we get requests from departments or from other partners on campus to come and do a career-related presentation, a presentation on a career-related topic. And our peer career advisors are often out on the road on campus doing those presentations for us. And they also share their experiences with students, somewhat similarly to how the Meiklejohns will talk maybe about how they experienced things like course selection or made decisions about their concentrations. Peer career advisors share many of those similar personal stories on how they maybe found their first internship or how they decided to choose a concentration and how that concentration may or may not relate to the types of things that a student would want to do professionally after they leave Brown. So there's a lot of benefit, I think, to students hearing from our peer career advisors about how our PCAs manage their career exploration process as well. So peer career advisors are a really, really important part of our program here at Career Lab. They typically meet with more than 2,000 students. Actually, it was close to 3,000 students in one-on-one sessions. And those one-on-one sessions typically happen during open hours. So peer career advisors during the academic year will offer open hour sessions for students 6 days a week. They have open hour sessions during the week, Monday through Friday, and usually one day on the weekends. That's typically a Sunday afternoon. And often we have our peer career advisor open hours in evenings as well. So we're trying to make sure that students can access the peer career advisors outside of class time when students often can't come into our office. But we're actually looking into ways where we can make peer career advising even more accessible in the future through expanded hours and through assigning peer career advisors to particular students and parts of the student body. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm happy to answer any questions that might come in. And again, sorry I don't have any peer career.
That's okay. That the students are really busy right now.
Yeah, they can usually talk much more eloquently about what we do than I can.
Yeah, and well, that's a good point. I should really make a special point to thank the students who are with us today, because it is around finals and they have a lot of commitment. So, and we're more than happy just to have you here, Matt. I have a question for you, because we often get questions about timing in terms of working with Career Lab during the 4-year or the career at Brown for students. And similarly, when would be a good time to begin working as a career advisor, if that was something somebody was interested in?
So we don't hire peer career advisors as first-year students. We usually hire our peer career advisors ahead of time. So our current group of peer career advisors who will start in the fall, including some students who are coming back to be peer career advisors with us again, are currently being hired now. So we are planning to hire a number of rising sophomores. So we will consider first-year students after they've been here for a couple semesters. But really, if you're interested in the peer career advisor position, we do hire at the end of fall semester. So if you have a student that might be interested in that role, they should come meet with us, in September, October, and learn a little bit more about the position. They can meet with a peer career advisor to talk about the position, and we do hire to fill some open roles when students go to study abroad, or they just decide they don't have time necessarily to stay with the peer career advisor role into the spring semester. But then the bulk of our hiring for peer career advisors happens in the April, early May timeframe each spring. So that would be a good time to start engaging. We do information sessions about the positions, and our peer career advisors are actually really highly engaged in conducting the interview process and helping to determine the final slate of candidates who we're going to bring on for a future semester. In terms of engaging with Career Lab, we encourage incoming students to engage as early as possible, early in their first year. That might be in the first part of the semester, and not necessarily to do a lot of career planning, but just to understand how to interact with our services and what services we offer and how they can take advantage of the different types of support that Career Lab offers. I think in terms of actually really perhaps starting to think about career exploration options, the most productive time for many students tends to be sophomore year. And we've turned a lot of our attention to sophomores in recent years to help support the career exploration process around concentration advising, around summer internships and research opportunities. So there's really never a bad time to connect with us, but I would say if your student is an incoming first year, come just learn what we do during first year at some point during the year. And then if you're really, really wanting to start thinking about internships and other topics, like late first year or early in sophomore year would be a great time to engage with Career Lab. But we're here to support you whenever you decide to engage with us.
Thank you, Matt. Really appreciate that. That I'm sure is going to be helpful to a lot of people here. So I'd like to move on to our next group. This is the Writing Center within the Sheridan Center for Teaching and Learning. And I'd like to introduce Jessica Tabak, who is the Assistant Director of the Writing Center. Jessica, and she has a couple of students with her as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mikkel. So my name is Jess Tabak. I'm Assistant Director of the Writing Center. And I'm here to talk specifically about a program that I direct, which is called the Writing Fellows Program. The Writing Fellows Program is a peer writing tutoring program that's about to enter its 40th year this fall. What the program does is it offers peer writing support to students who are working in all disciplines. It's not just students taking English courses or history courses, it's students working in STEM, social sciences, as well as the humanities. This year, the program had close to 50 tutors. It served almost 400 student writers and courses in 14 different departments. And many of these courses that we were working with are those that are, they count toward Brown's writing requirement. So they're courses that a lot of students that are really important to a lot of students as writers and as they're developing as writers. So the way that the program works is kind of unique. So we have a writing center at Brown where students can make appointments with an associate, and they come in and they do stuff sort of impromptu on the fly. What we do here is a little bit different because each semester, every one of our writing fellows, which is what we call our tutors, is assigned to work with student writers who are in a specific course. And each of those fellows in turn gets a small group of the students in that course, and they work with them closely on their writing in that class over the course of the entire term. So one of the things that I think is really special and makes this both academic support and also sort of fit the mentoring aspect of this particular webinar that we're having today is this fact that our writing fellows are working over the course of a period of time with the same students. So they get to develop a relationship with the students that they're offering academic advising for. And so actually, now that we're kind of getting into more of what the experience is of being a fellow in the program, I want to go ahead and give the floor to Megan Zhang, who is a graduating senior in the program, who is in her third year as a writing fellow, and is also this year serving as a member of our student leadership team as one of our 2 diversity, inclusion, and outreach coordinators. Megan is also about to continue on at Brown to earn her master's in teaching. So anyway, I'm going to pass over to Megan. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Megan Zhang. I love Writing Fellows. I've been a part of it for a long time. And something that I really love about this program and my role as a peer mentor through Writing Fellows is the opportunity to work one-on-one with students. In a lot of cases, students don't have a lot of experience with academic writing before coming to Brown, and being thrown into it right away and being expected to write a lot of essays and a lot of different citation styles and different kinds of formats can be a really overwhelming experience. I know that was definitely my experience as a first year. And I love that Writing Fellows partners with a lot of first year seminars as well as upper level classes, because we have the opportunity to support a lot of first years and help them with really specific questions and mentor them through that process. Something that's unique about Writing Fellows is that we work with our students for the whole semester. So if a student comes to us, for example, wanting to work on writing really powerful introductions and like pulling the reader right in right away, that's something that we can work with the student on time after time and see a lot of like growth happen throughout the semester. So that's a really satisfying part of my role as a mentor in that regard. It's also a lot about seeing like a change in writers' confidence. As we talked about before, some writers are very critical of themselves. Like I know I was the same way when I was the first year before like taking our training course and realizing that writing is a process. So a lot of what we do is just like providing that reassurance to writers, like this is a really, really good paper. Even if you don't see that yet, here are some things I loved about it. And when you start talking to writers about that, it really changes their attitude sometimes towards writing, because then it's like not so much of a scary thing as it is something that can be really exciting and expressive. So a lot of the first years that we work with end up taking away things that they can continue to use in other classes and other departments after working with writing fellows.
So we've had a question come in that if there's a student who's a first year who's very confident and comfortable with their writing skills, is this a position that they could go into as a first year student?
So our Writing Fellows program solicits applications in the spring, and we do take applications from current first years. Our hiring process actually just closed for the term, but we will be reopening those applications next April-ish.
Thank you. And what is the training program like?
So we have a course in the English department that you take for credit called English 1190M, which is the teaching and practice of writing. In the course, we're trained on anti-racist, social justice oriented pedagogies. And we also just build a community amongst writing fellows. And a really big important part of that course is kind of deconstructing all these things that you have come to internalize about writing. So for example, like I was a really big perfectionist when it came to writing, and it was kind of like intimidating for me to produce a draft that wasn't perfect. And so that's something that we talked a lot about in the course. And because that's something we talked to our students about. So discussing your own writing is a big part of the training process for writing fellows.
All right. Well, thank you both very much. I think we're going to move on to our next group, and we're making great time. So we'll have some questions for the end. This is the Global Brown Center for International Students. And we have Andrew Heald, who is the director, and Natalia Roman Alicia, who is the program coordinator there. And I believe they have a student or two with them as well.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Heald. I'm the program director of the Global Brown Center for International Students. So lovely to be here today. And I'll let my colleague introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Natalia Roman Alicea. I'm the GBC program coordinator. Just joined the team in September of last year. I'm going to provide a brief overview of the Global Brown Center and then hand it over back to Andrew to talk about the International Mentoring Program, and then to our student who's also here on this call today. The Global Brown Center for International Students was established in May 2017 within the Division of Campus Life to develop programming to support our undergraduate and graduate international students at Brown. We host a variety of programs in community, cultural, and mentorship, as well as we advise international students on self-advocacy. And specifically for mentorship programs, I think Andrew can hand it over.
Absolutely. So the International Mentoring Program is one of our flagship programs. And what I love to do when I talk about the IMP program is to really talk about its history first. The IMP program was started in 1999 as a student initiative. It's almost 25 years old, not just yet. But the IMP program was originally created by students to offer peer support to fellow international identifying students here at Brown. And we have continued to foster that sense of student leadership and student ownership over the program. And so the program consists of 4 IMP coordinators, one of whom is on this call, and I will introduce in a moment, along with 25 IMP mentors. And a brief overview of the program consists of pre-arrival communication over the summer so that incoming students have a chance to touch base with an international student currently at Brown for questions like, what do I pack? Or, what's the weather like in the winter? Followed by a pre-orientation program called International Orientation, and then proceeds to be a year-long mentorship program. And so with that, I would love to introduce our senior IMP coordinator, Ahmad, to talk a little bit more about his experience in the program, as well as any more information that he can provide for us.
Hello, thank you, Andrew and Natalia. Hi, everyone. I'm Ahmed. I call Palestine and Jordan home. I am a third year concentrating in computer science, and I'm one of 2 senior IMP coordinators. I first got introduced to IMP through international orientation. International orientation is normally required for all incoming international students, especially ones who are on F1 or J1 visa status, meaning they are non-American passport holders. However, our definition of being international is very broad. Even if you do hold an American passport and yet you spent some time in different countries, you're definitely welcome to join our program and participate in our orientation and year-long programming. And so I was both a mentee, a mentor, and now a coordinator. As a mentor, one main thing that all 25 of us each year learn is how to adapt and really cater programming to our 11 to 16 mentees. We really try to make sure that they all feel welcome, and we also try to make sure to provide individualized support throughout the year, whether that be through the first weeks of orientation or throughout the events that we have throughout the entire year to like support our students and our mentees. And IMP in general and IO serves as the first introduction to Brown for potentially a lot of incoming international students, and just so happens to also be the first introduction to an American college culture. So we really try to focus on our programming on three main things. One of them really explaining the legal status at which all international students are at through our collaboration with the Office of International Students. We also work on cultural transition and really explaining the cultural shock that all of our students might face. And finally, we work a lot on social integration, really making sure that we integrate the international community within the broader and larger community at Brown. And that is something that we really value. And so throughout the summer, they get an email to welcome them all from our different 25 mentors, asking them whether they need any support. A lot of the questions we get is, where do we get bedding? What should I get? Do I have a mailbox? And all of those that we can really help and pinpoint different sources on campus to support. And then IO, which is international orientation, really serves as either a buffer for students who are looking to calm down before they start college, or the social gathering where they get to like go out, embrace the new culture, and like embrace this new community.
Can you expand a little bit on the social aspects of what you do at Global Brown?
Yeah, so throughout the year, International Mentoring Program really works on hosting. We have multiple social events. So actually in 2 days, we have one very iconic IMP tradition, which is the IMP Gala, which is just a celebration for all international students and the broader Brown community, just for all of us to gather and celebrate the end of the year. We also work on hosting mainly one large event per month. We have our IMP karaoke, we have IMP gingerbread, and these are all just different events like really get our international community together, reintroduce them to the different mentors we have, and also just like make sure that we reiterate that this is a safe space for them and they are welcome here.
And do you have to be an international student to attend one of these events?
No, although all of our programming is geared towards international students, all of our events and all of our services are offered to all Brown students. And we really do hope that all of our international students feel free to bring all their non-international student friends and really try to use our spaces for community.
That's great. Thank you so much. So I think the next question I'm going to throw out there is to all our student advisors. And if it's something you want to answer, you can just unmute yourself. And this is, so you're all in positions of advising. But can you talk about what resources you've tapped into in your academic career to help you personally that might not be represented in this group, but what kind of advising have you received that's been helpful to you? See who wants to go first. How about Bianca? Do you have any examples to share?
Yeah, so as I mentioned previously, sorry, I'm in the program for liberal medical education. So through that, we also have an additional PLME PAL system where you get paired with a medical student, and once you're an upperclassman, you get paired with a first year, and you can mentor that way. Also, what other comes to mind are Naomi and Alana, who are the Be Well SAPE mentors, who are faculty mentors. They have been really great resources in directing me anywhere on campus. And then also something I'd really strongly recommend, and something that might seem daunting to first years, is just like meeting with your professors. They are all really, really great mentors, and they are always really open to talking to students and building relationships. Some will even take you out to coffee as a meeting point. So definitely utilize that. I know it could be scary at first, like from my own personal experience, but I definitely say that you should utilize that if you can.
And that's a good point. I mean, a lot of the difficulty of this is just taking that first step to putting yourself out there. Any advice to people who, are reluctant to take that first step to ask for advising assistance?
Yeah, honestly, that was something that I was kind of nervous about, but if you stay behind class and talk to your professor, you'll get a sense of their personality and if you vibe with them. And if that's the case, feel free to sign up for office hours. If you're nervous about it, you could also maybe pop into office hours with a friend. It's really not as intimidating as you think. The professors are all really, really nice from my personal experience. So it is like maybe a jump if you're scared, but it's definitely a jump that I'd recommend.
Thank you. I think the next question I'm going to ask is for Naomi, because one of the questions we've gotten very frequently in a number of different settings is about, mental health and coping skills. It's been a really difficult 2 years for a lot of people. And beyond the programs that you mentioned, what are the resources are there on campus that you would recommend to people that they might not be thinking about in terms of supporting their own mental health?
Sure. I think what is wonderful at Brown is there's really a rich array of resources. And so, a resource that feels right for one student might not be what is needed by another student at that same moment. So certainly CAPS, which is Counseling and Psychological Services, who are in the same building as us, are a resource, and they offer both kind of crisis care and more kind of ongoing check-in care. So that's certainly a resource. But there are a number of student groups that provide, just kind of advising support, the peer-to-peer kind of support. And so I think that often students don't, kind of know that they can get a lot of support just through finding that connection. And sometimes what students need is more of a connection and a feeling of belonging, and taking some time to make those connections outside of classes. So thinking about what things they're interested in. There are so many student groups here at Brown that you are likely to find one that matches some of your own interests, and that can help a lot. Just having that community support can make a huge difference.
That's great. And yesterday we did talk a little bit about student organizations. So I'd suggest anybody who's interested in looking to that more closely to reference that recording, which will be posted on our website at a later time. Thank you, Naomi. Going back to the Meiklejohn, so Henry and Zane and Smitty, I'd like to touch on something that's really near and dear to all students' hearts right now, which is the finals. Can you provide any sort of good advice for students right now, or parents, actually for the parents themselves of students who might be calling them and talking about how stressed they are about where they are right now in the academic year?
Yeah, I guess I can start with this one. For me, the whole thing is, again, like, back to the theme of community. It's better to work together. So I encourage my advisees, I encourage friends of mine will get together and work in study groups. That's always the best way of going about things, because then you can divide up, you can then plan to do more social activities after, and it just makes the whole process of finals go through quicker and a lot easier. And then in terms of parents, I guess, from my own personal experience, like, my parents take a more hands-off approach. Like, they know, hey, I probably won't be calling you for the next week because I'm busy studying or this and that. And I think just like making that known that there's that supporting presence, but not too sort of in your face, is a great way of finding that fine line, allowing the period to go through pretty stress-free.
Thank you.
The only thing that I want to add to what Zane said, that it is often a big transition, the kind of finals that we have at college, as compared to what we might be used to from high school. So personally, for me, I've gone to not calling my parents for days. And then suddenly before a big final, just calling them and freaking out and saying, I'm getting wrecked by this class, I want to drop it. I absolutely can't deal with the workload. So definitely just read the situation as is. They're probably going through a lot as well. And just knowing that you'll be there for them is probably the most important part of this.
Thank you. Henry, anything to add there?
The only thing I could add, and Zane and Smitty, you guys did a great job of answering this question, is that whenever I call home, I'm afraid that, like Zane, my parents and I both take a hands-off approach. And so when I call them during finals period, they're very like, okay, let's hear what he has to say, because chances are he's going to be very stressed. And so it's honestly just being there, being able to answer, and say, oh yeah, that I totally understand how you're feeling. Being there and just, being a sounding board, I guess, is one of the best things for me personally, is just say like, this is what I'm feeling. And they say, I see why you're feeling that way. And I say, oh, I feel validated right now. This feels fantastic. That's how I personally handle my approach with my parents. And I tell my advisees, anytime, any day during finals week, just let me know. We can always chat if I don't happen to run into them on the street.
Thank you. So I'd like to go back to Ahmed about, so your parents, I'm assuming or your family or your support group is pretty far away, and that's the case for a lot of international students. How have you found community in Providence on the Brown campus? Have you felt welcomed, and what would you, how would you advise people who are just arriving here in September for the first time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just being homesick is a very normal thing that a lot of international students feel, even not even international students, any general student who's moving from a very far away place into Providence. And I think a lot of our programming really works on normalizing that feeling and just understanding that if you are feeling homesick, especially like during some special holidays. For example, I just was celebrating Eid right after Ramadan, and I'm lucky enough to have family in a different state. So I just was able to go visit them. But however, it's not the same as being home and celebrating that with my loved ones and family. And so if I'm going through it, it's a very comforting feeling knowing that a lot of other students are feeling that as well. And just being able to hold spaces where we all share what means a lot to us. In the GBC, we have coffee chats every week. We have a lot of conversations about creating home away from home. And just being able to have these spaces where a lot of students feel vulnerable and also feel very comfortable to share that really helps create community and just foster the sense of belonging that we could create that at Providence throughout our 4 years here, or even potentially more if we are looking into staying.
Thank you. That was wonderful. So I think I'm going to wrap it up now, give everybody some time to enjoy the rainy weather outside here in Providence. So once again, I'd like to thank all of the students who joined us today during a very busy time, and the staff who so passionately described their programs and gave us a glimpse of what they do here, and just to create a rich environment and a supportive environment for our students. Thank you, everyone who joined us, and we hope you will join us tomorrow for Living at Brown, and have a great rest of your afternoon. Thank you.